all you cool cats and kittens. I hope you're doing well and thinking critically. I've been thinking about you. If you aren't already following along with the Dana Reads series on Instagram, it's at JDanaTrent. Please follow along. I just added a critical thinking book today. So that is another way that we can reconnect outside of the classroom virtually, even though we can't see each other in our seated classroom. But this is a lecture about chapter 13. Super important chapter. So I want you to crack open your textbooks and meet me in chapter 13. I am on page 378, 378, okay? Now I'm in the binder edition. It might be a different page number for you, but it's the beginning of the chapter. This chapter is really important. Let me say that again. This chapter is really important. This chapter is all about putting together an inductive argument. Now, this chapter takes the form of what it would be like to write an argument. Because we had some changes this semester, I've asked you to do your final presentation project in a couple of different ways. So you can write a paper, you can do a PowerPoint, you can do a video, you can do an art project, you can present your argument in many different forms. But the concepts from this chapter, chapter 13, will help you put together your inductive argument because the concepts are still the same. Whether you're writing a paper or making a PowerPoint or making an art project, you are going to go through all of these steps for this project, okay? So before you create your final project, meet me on page 378. Before you writing the first draft and after the first draft. So all of this applies to every step of the project. That's also in the assignment sheet. So let's talk a little about knowing yourself. This is important because you will not have a good time doing this final project if you aren't interested in the topic. So knowing yourself means knowing what you're interested in, what frustrates you, what excites you, what energizes you, what challenges you, what makes you want to do something to change something about the world. That's what I'm looking for. So good arguments are based in something that you care about. I'm not saying that I want it to be all about feelings because obviously we need evidence, we need facts, we need inductive patterns. But first and foremost, you have to care about the topic. And so I want you to choose an argument topic that you actually care about. That's what the Know Yourself section is all about. Know your audience. I am your audience. So you know me. You know that I am open to reading and learning and thinking critically about almost any topic. The only restrictions that I won't allow you to do, I put in the assignment sheet. And they're very common sense. Arguments for violence against certain groups of people, xenophobia, hate speech, genocide. Common sense, right? But all kinds of arguments I will entertain and be willing to be informed about. So please feel free to know that I, your audience, am willing to read and learn about your argument, its claim, its premises, its conclusion. You don't need to worry about me, as long as you stick to those guidelines on the assignment sheet, all right? So let's flip over then to choosing and narrowing down your topic. I'm on page 384. This is really important. Most students pick an argument that is way too broad. So work on narrowing it down. You want it to be a tiny slice of pie to make it manageable. Because if you do an argument like, all North Carolina students should have free tuition. Well, that's wonderful, and that's a good argument starting out, right? But the evidence that you're going to need to gather for that argument is going to be pretty significant. But if you narrowed it down, like Wake Tech students should have free tuition, or this particular population within North Carolina should have free tuition, and get specific, that makes for a better, stronger, cogent argument because you're able to narrow down your premises. So, narrowing down your topic. Go back and reread that section. Gathering ideas and research. I'm on page 387. This is super important. As you're looking at that assignment sheet, reread the assignment sheet, then read it again, then read it again, then brainstorm, write out your ideas, and begin your research questions. All right. This talks about all the ways, all the tips and hacks and tools for developing research questions. That's on page 387. Writing a thesis, a claim statement effectively, that's on page 386. You need a very specific claim statement. A claim statement is very similar to a thesis statement in a paper. It tells me exactly what claim is being made in the argument so that I know as soon as I read your PowerPoint, read your paper, look at your art, watch your video, I know exactly where we're going. And then I'm sitting and listening and reading attentively, ready to catch, ready to hear, ready to think critically about the evidence that you're going to present to me based on that specific claim. That's on page 386. Go back and reread it. All right. Listing opposing premises. Sometimes many of you asked about this. Could you cite your opponent's argument? Absolutely. That is a strategy, and certainly feel free to list the opposing premises. That's on 388. Now, let's talk about organizing your evidence. I'm on page 393. So once you have your topic, once you've narrowed down your topic, once you have a claim statement, brainstorm, research questions, keywords, then and only then do you start to organize this project and you are ready to rock and roll. All right, there's a lot of work up front, and many students rush through that process, and I really want you to take your time and think critically about what you're doing, organizing your ideas. So there are methods to organize premises. There are several different methods that you can read about, whether you're writing a paper or doing a PowerPoint. I do not have a preference in terms of how you organize the evidence. I just want it to be organized. So many students will choose to just organize by premises, where they will say, here's my claim, and then here are the 3 premises that support my argument. Here's my conclusion. Done. That's perfectly fine. If you want to get a little more in-depth, a little fancier, you could go methods of development on page 396. Problem solution is another really popular organizational method. In other words, here's the problem, here's my argument for the solution. Okay, you're seeing problem solution inductive arguments all the time in the COVID situation. Here's the problem within the pandemic, and here's an inductive argument for the solution. So problem solution is very popular. Evaluative pattern is kind of like a rubric, so feel free to use that one. Opponent's argument is actually a pattern, an inductive pattern for organizing your premises. So opponent's argument, you can actually list out your opponent's premises and then show the weakness in their argument, not in a fallacy type way, but in a way that shows how your premises are strong and cogent. Combine patterns, that totally works. Doing your first draft, this is page 401 and beyond. Now this is specific to writing an essay, of course, but the same theory, critical thinking theory, would apply to any assessment form that you decide on, whether it's PowerPoint or video. If you create a video, you're probably going to need to write a script draft, right? So that you know how you're going to present your information. If you write an executive summary paper, you're going to write a paper. If you're writing PowerPoint, you're writing bullet points. If you're doing an art project, you're thinking about the ways in which you're drafting out your ideas to put them together in the project. So no matter what, you're going to be following these steps, okay? So let's go to the summary page. I'm on page 417. So before writing an argument, know yourself. What do you care about? What have you studied this term that's really gotten you fired up for whatever reason? And then how can you turn that into an inductive argument claim? Knowing your audience, that's me, so no worries there. Focusing your topic, brainstorming, researching, and then how are you going to organize your ideas? How are you going to put them together? Both your inductive pattern, which you've got choices from chapter 11, and then how are you going to organize the actual content? So think about those two things, inductive pattern and how you're going to organize the content. I'm going to leave it up to you as to what you choose. I haven't put any restrictions on this. You can use any inductive pattern you want. You can use any organizational pattern you want. I just want you to provide me with a strong, cogent argument. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. I want you to show off your critical thinking theories that you've learned, your critical thinking muscles. I want you to really flex big. Take a big swing on this and go big or go home. All right, so, and then defending your central claim. All of that is in the summary section. And editing your argument, common sense here, knowing that it's not a one and done type thing. You need to go back and reread your project, making sure everything is correct, everything's in the right place. Proofreading, please. Editing where you need to, and then finally submitting it via Safe Assign on Blackboard. So chapter 13 is about after you've studied the inductive patterns in 11, you've done the research in 12, 13 is about how do you bring all this together to make it a really strong, cogent argument for your audience. So I hope that helped, friends. Of course, let me know what questions you have. The FAQs on the final project presentation are in that assignments folder. I've already started those FAQs for you. So if you have a question, check the FAQs, see if I've already answered it. If I haven't, feel free to email me and I will take a look. All right, friends, be well, and I will see you soon. Take care. Happy studying.